Dragon Warrior is one of the most iconic RPGs on the NES. But it's not what comes to mind when people hear the word speedrunning. The game is normally associated with hours of enemy grinding just to become strong enough to defeat the final boss. But the world record progression for this game is more interesting than you might think, and there is now a decade of history behind it. This is the story of the world records that were achieved along the way. This is the history of Dragon Warrior World Records. In the spring of 2014, Dragon Warrior had already seen a number of runs that had come close to cracking the 6-hour barrier. But it was unclear who held the world record. A speedrunner named Shiner CCC, who became well known for holding the Faxanadu world record for years, claimed that he achieved the fastest time to date using the Strength Agility build, but never uploaded the run because game audio wasn't captured. It was time for someone to unify the world record by setting an undisputed fastest time live on Twitch, and this would be accomplished on May 17th, 2014. As his name would suggest, Error72 was a strong Zelda 2 speedrunner. What made him consider speedrunning Dragon Warrior? Even Error himself questioned running such a long game.
Someone talk me out of it.
But the allure of Sub 6 was too strong to resist, and Error was armed with a lot of speedrunning tech for this game. He started off by grinding to level 4, then took the money from the grind to Remolder to buy a key. He then went to the mountain cave to set up what is known as the chest glitch. In order to avoid soft locks, treasure chests outside of the throne room will reappear when you re-enter the location in which they exist. When a chest in the mountain cave is taken, it is moved to a storage area that can hold up to 8 chests, and when you leave the cave, the chests are moved back to where they were. But when you death warp, the game doesn't recognize that you've exited the cave, and the chests stay in the storage area. Once that storage area contains 8 chests, the next chest to be opened has no space to move to, so it stays where it is and can be opened over and over. Error used this to his advantage, grinding a gold chest for over 5,500 gold. Although this took over 24 minutes, it would ultimately save time because the weapons and armor he'd purchase would allow him to grind more valuable enemies. He grinded to level 12 and then went to fight the Axe Knight. Normally players get level 13 first to have the advantage against the Axe Knight. At level 12, there's about a 25% chance of winning, but if you pull it off, you can save around 8 minutes over a level 13 win. Error defeated the Axe Knight on the 4th attempt, which was good enough for a time save. He fought to level 13, obtained the remaining gear and items, then grinded for level 18 outside of Hawksness, and level 19 inside Hawksness. Error finished with a smooth Charlock and Dragonlord fight to achieve a new world record of 6 hours and 10 seconds. Viewers could tell that despite achieving a world record, Error was disappointed to have barely missed getting Sub 6.
It is world record.
It was clear that Sub 6 was attainable, but Error's record would stand for over 4 months. It was time for a new speedrunner to take a shot at breaking the 6-hour barrier. S Cardinality would later become known for dozens of NES world records, but in October of 2014, Dragon Warrior was his very first speedrun. He wanted to beat the game in under 6 hours, and on October 4th, in his 3rd stream ever, he was putting together a run that had a chance. When he went to the mountain cave to set up the chest glitch, he got the Death Necklace, which has a 1 in 32 chance of appearing. It sells for 1,200 gold, which which saves about 4 minutes off the gold grind. He then grinded to level 13 for the Axe Knight fight, which also gave him enough gold to get the silver shield first, making the Axe Knight even safer. He beat the Axe Knight first try, and he started fighting Hawksness enemies at level 17. When he reached level 19, he was on sub 6 pace. The Dragon Lord fight went smoothly, and Nescard finished this run with a time of 5 hours, 57 minutes, and 41 seconds.
Booyah!
Nescard had achieved the first sub 6 hour run of Dragon Warrior, but this run had a death on the way to the Silver Shield, and another on the way to Erdrick's sword, so there was still room for improvement, and Nescard was eager to try again. 1 week later, on October 11th, 2014, Nescard would lower the record further. In this run, he didn't get the Death Necklace, but his gold grind was under 20 minutes. He started fighting Hawksness enemies as early as level 16, and would lose time on the next 3 splits, calling the early Hawksness grind into question. On the way to the Dragon Lord, he got sleepwalked by a red dragon and took a death, but he was still ahead and finished the run in 5 hours, 55 minutes, and 54 seconds. With a death on the bottom floor of Sharlock, Nescard wanted to keep trying. It would again be only 1 week before Nescard would improve the record further. On October 18th, he got the Death Necklace in the Mountain Cave again. He waited until level 17 to fight Hawksness enemies, using Stop Spell on Star Wyverns so they couldn't heal more. With no issues in Sharlock, this run became the first world record with no unintentional deaths, as Nescard finished in 5 hours, 50 minutes, and 10 seconds. 6 days later, on October 24th, Nescard entered a Dragon Warrior race, which meant there would be extra safety saves in his route. He didn't get the Death Necklace, and he had a death on the way to the Axe Knight. But his late game grind was much faster, and he finished in 5 hours, 48 minutes, and 20 seconds. When this run was finished, Nescard announced that he would start trying to defeat the Axe Knight at level 12 from now on. Despite the low chance of success, it would only be another 2 days before Nescard improved the record yet again. On October 26th, Nescard was on a run where below average RNG resulted in slower enemy grinding. When he reached level 12, every split was red. The only way this run had a shot at improvement was if Nescard took some risks. He went to fight the Axe Knight at level 12, and on his first try, after using every one of his herbs, he won the battle. Unfortunately, 2 deaths on the way to Erdrick's sword left the run in the red when the dust settled. Worse yet, the late game grind started off catastrophically slowly. Once he had reached level 18, he was over 9 minutes behind. If this run was to have any hope, he would have to try something drastic. It was time to try the Dragon Lord at level 18. At level 19, it is estimated that there is about an 85% chance of making it through Sharlock and defeating the Dragon Lord. At level 18, that number drops to just 15%. These weren't odds players wanted to subject themselves to over 5 hours into a speedrun. But with this run having no alternative left, Nescard went for it. In the final encounter zone, he saw no red dragons, and out of 4 armored knights, he was only run blocked once. All that remained was the Dragon Lord. He got the first attack, and decided to attack at 45 HP. The Dragon Lord attacked him for 44. Later, he got a safe double attack, which is very unlikely at level 18. Having done 59 damage before using the 4th of 10 heal mores, it started to look like Nescard was in the driver's seat. Then, with 3 heal mores left, he got another double attack and was suddenly a massive favorite to win. This extraordinarily lucky battle allowed Nescard to turn an otherwise hopeless run into a world record with a time of 5 hours, 38 minutes, and 42 seconds. After this run was over, Nescard announced that with a huge time save being gifted as a result of that very lucky level 18 victory, he was happy with the time achieved, and would be moving on to speedrun Dragon Warrior 2. But then, just 1 week later, something unexpected happened. On November 2nd, Nescard was invited to play Dragon Warrior as a bonus run on the Best of NES Marathon, which showcased NES speedruns from world record holders. A couple friends also wanted to race Nescard while he played in the marathon. Because this was both a marathon run and a race run, Nescard used safety strats. He fought the Axe Knight at level 13, but because there was only one unintentional death, just 2 steps away from Erdrick's token, he ended up ahead of world record pace. Since the only chance for a world record was to defeat the Dragon Lord at level 18, viewers started trying to convince Nescard to go for it. Eventually, Nescard agreed to try one dive at level 18 if he was far enough ahead of his race opponents to win after a death. Despite starting out with low damage rolls, Nescard ended up winning at level 18 again, finishing with a time of 5 hours, 29 minutes, and 22 seconds, the first ever sub-5.5 hour run. The marathon was streamed on a channel that no longer exists, so unfortunately this run can't currently be viewed, but it was seen live by more than 1,300 people, and Nescard's reaction to pulling off this miracle run is remembered as legendary. As promised, Nescard moved on to speedrun Dragon Warrior 2, but there was still the lingering question of how much time was left to be saved. After all, Nescard had left about 8 minutes on the table by not fighting the Axe Knight at level 12, and there was also a death on the way to Erdrick's token. But who would be willing to grind for a new world record when the odds of completing a run with the necessary risks were so low? Surprisingly, it would be less than a year before that question would be answered. Karakarn was known for speedrunning various games from the Final Fantasy series, including 7, 8, 9, X, and X2, and had achieved quite a few world records. He was no stranger to speedrunning long RPGs. In the fall of 2015, he decided to take a serious shot at the Dragon Warrior world record. On October 18th, Karakarn was on a run with a lot of potential. He decided to grind until level 13 before fighting the Axe Knight, so that the only major hurdle would be defeating the Dragon Lord at level 18. He was using the same strats as the current world record, which meant if it was deathless, he would have an advantage. When he reached level 17, he was over 2.5 minutes ahead of the record, but his grind to level 18 had lots of bad RNG. He would need a stellar Charlock to pull off a new record. In the bottom zone, he got very few enemies, and out of 2 armored knights and 1 red dragon, he was only run blocked once. It all came down to the Dragon Lord.
110. $120! Yes! 130 exactly.
Karakarn finished with a time of 5 hours, 29 minutes, and 8 seconds, improving the record by 13.5 seconds. Right after the run ended, someone in Karakarn's audience informed him that he was playing on the PRG-0 version of the game. In PRG-0, every time you take damage from an enemy, the game says, "Thy hits decreased by." In PRG-1, the version other runners had been using, the game says, "Thy hit points decreased by." Because each character takes 1 frame to print on screen, the message is 1/10 of a second faster on PRG-0, which amounts to a couple of minutes over the course of a full run. Honorable speedrunner that he is, Karakarn was determined to improve his time to the point where it would be the clear world record regardless of which version it was played on. Nescardinality was determined to get the record back. In November of 2015, the race for the record heated up, with both Nescard and Karakarn pulling out all the stops. They both started fighting the Axe Knight at level 12 every time, grinding out frequent runs, hoping each time that the stars would align. Nescard was doing runs every single day, and on November 23rd, he was on a run where he was ahead at level 12, but he died twice to the Axe Knight, and after beating it on the 3rd try, he took a death warp in Hawksness, costing him half his gold. This meant he wouldn't be able to get the silver shield until much later in the run, which would slow grinding down. Worse still, on the way to the token, Nescard accidentally tried to run from a Magiwyvern instead of casting Sleep and took another death warp. Was a new record still possible? Nescard was determined to see the run through. He went back for the token, and his splits still showed a lead of over 5 minutes thanks to the level 12 Axe Knight victory. Nescard lost time on the next 2 levels grinding without a silver shield, but he was still ahead. At level 15, he went to Cantlin with no MP left, beat the golem, and bought the silver shield. He reached level 18 ahead of world record pace, but the improbable Sharlock dive was still to come. He overcame 3 armored knights with 3 run blocks, and 2 red dragons, one of which put him to sleep. All that remained was the Dragon Lord.
107. Oh, that attack is too big. We would have had a shot. 119. Give me 11 or 12. Yes! 12, baby! Woo!
With no double attacks, Nescard got miraculous damage rolls to defeat the Dragon Lord at level 18 and finish the run with a time of 5 hours, 26 minutes, and 6 seconds. Both runners recognized that because this run had 4 unintentional deaths and a delayed silver shield, there was still time to be saved. With Karakarn constantly grinding level 12 Axe Knight runs, Nescard knew the record wasn't safe. He kept on putting runs in each day, and 8 days later, on December 1st, this run happened. Nescard beat the Axe Knight at level 12 first try, saving 5 minutes over his record. He had no deaths getting the token and the sword. And having gotten the silver shield at the normal time, he could save even more time in the late game grind. With very little MP left, he decided not to fight inside Hawksness at all, and he reached level 18 faster than anyone ever had, in under 5 hours and 5 minutes. In Sharlock, he got 5 run blocks from 4 armored knights, and also encountered a red dragon, but still made it to the Dragon Lord with 4 herbs. Nescard ended up getting the best Dragon Lord RNG he had ever seen when it mattered most, getting 3 double attacks and winning with magic to spare. This miracle final battle was the culmination of a dream run that ended up lowering the record by more than 10 minutes, ending in a time of 5 hours, 15 minutes, and 7 seconds. This was the miracle run Nescard had been grinding for. No unintentional deaths, level 12 Axe Knight, and level 18 Dragon Lord, all in one run. The odds of all those things happening were well under 1%, and because a full run was more than 5 hours long, Nescard believed this run would be the world record forever. That belief would last for a total of 9 hours. Just 9 hours after Nescard's run finished, a speedrunner named Crow posted a video that grabbed the community's attention. Crow was known for speedrunning Secret of Mana and other RPGs, achieving many world records along the way. But this video focused on an older RPG called Dragon Warrior. For some reason, Crow decided to take a close look at how this game works, and discovered that it was possible to manipulate the RNG in such a way that you could avoid random encounters on the overworld, walk to a zone containing a metal slime, and get an excellent move, killing one in a single hit. This would catapult the player to level 5 in the first 3 minutes of play, saving a huge amount of time.
It turns out that a consistent way to get to some other number in the RNG is to just hold the B button. Each time you press B, it is going to ask for your command again. On your third command, I'm going to attack, and then once again on the third command, I'm going to attack. This was the fastest way I found to get an excellent move. That's the name of a crit in this game. Crits ignore defense power, so we can just one-shot the metal slime.
Nescardinality realized that there was no limit to what could be accomplished with this discovery, but he had just completed a grueling grind for a near-perfect no-manipulation run, and didn't want to diminish the significance of that run. With Nescard on the sidelines, it was up to Karakarn to see what could be done. December 9th, 2015. It only took a week for Karakarn to put together a route with RNG manipulation and get a run going. He started by fighting not 1, but 3 consecutive metal slimes, putting him at level 6. When you clear a text box after a battle, you only have a 50% chance of being on one of 2 different RNG paths, meaning you only have a 1 in 4 chance of stringing 3 metal slimes together. But because they're fought right at the beginning of the run, this was reasonable to pull off with early resets. He then got a key from Remolder and went to the mountain cave to set up the gold grind, but this time, he only grinded to 2,300 gold, enough to buy the large shield and the broadsword. He made sure he had 0 gold, and then saved and reset. It turns out that as long as your gear, inventory, experience, gold, and character name are a precisely planned match, you can save at any point in the game and continue from a consistent RNG value. Karakarn used this to set up a manipulation to defeat the Axe Knight at level 6. He waited in front of the Axe Knight until he could start the battle on a value that would let him go first. Then, he manipulated 2 consecutive excellent moves to get Erdrick's armor 6 levels earlier than he ever had before. This made the early grind much faster. Karakarn reached level 18 more than half an hour faster than anyone ever had before. It was enough leeway to take the world record at level 19, but Karakarn was set on doing better with a level 18 win. It took 3 Sharlock dives, but Karakarn defeated the Dragon Lord at level 18 and finished in 4 hours, 57 minutes, and 8 seconds, the first ever sub-5 hour Dragon Warrior run. This is where the world record would sit for the next 5 months. On May 17th, 2016, Nescard was ready to return to Dragonware and make a route with RNG manipulation. As various members of the community had studied the game over the past few months, many came to the conclusion that a lot of manipulation ideas were impossible for a human to pull off in a speedrun. But Nescard was about to shatter everyone's expectations. He spent 2.5 weeks making his route, and another couple days practicing the fine points. On June 6th, 2016, Karakarn was again speedrunning Dragon Warrior, using the same manipulation strats as before. This run also took 3 Sharlock dives to win, but Karakarn finished in 4 hours, 56 minutes, and 1 second, shaving more than a minute off of his previous world record. That very same day, Nescard started a run of his own. But he wasn't just going for 3 metal slimes and an early Axe Knight. Nescard was going to manipulate the entire game. First, Nescard fought 4 metal slimes instead of 3, which had a 1 in 8 chance of working. This got him to level 7, where he learned the sleep spell, which had all sorts of hidden utility. He death warped and saved, and then, without any equipment, he went straight to the Axe Knight, manipulated it to sleep, and defeated it using a combination of excellent moves and hurt spells. With the gold from this battle, he went straight to Remolder to buy 3 keys, the minimum quantity required to beat the game. He set up another manipulation and walked all the way across the map to get the token. Then, without manipulation, he gathered the Silver Harp, Staff of Rain, and Rainbow Drop, and used the Rainbow Drop before death warping. He saved again to set up another manipulation. Could he really tackle Sharlock at level 7? First, he made it to the end of the top floor and revealed the staircase. Since there was no way to buffer an input to clear the text box, he death warped and saved again. He came back to Sharlock and descended the stairs into total darkness. But he kept going, bonking into walls, both as indicators of when to turn, and as audio cues to determine how many times the RNG was advancing, before he could proceed without any encounters. It was working. Nescard kept advancing without any walls visible on the screen, until eventually he picked up Erdrick's sword in the dark. Having the sword at level 7 instead of level 13 would constitute a major advantage. But Nescard wasn't stopping to grind. He saved, reset, and went straight back to Sharlock. Could the Dragon Lord really be defeated at level 7 in a speedrun? Nescard fought the first form of the Dragon Lord in such a way that it kept casting Stop Spell, doing no damage. Then, against the second form, he manipulated the Dragon Lord to sleep and cast the Hurt spell 12 times. Between the odds of missing, doing damage amounts that were too low, and the Dragon Lord waking up, each cast would normally have about a 1 in 96 chance of giving a desirable result. But Nescard was guaranteeing those chances through brute force routing. He interspersed 1 damage attacks to force favorable hurt casts faster, and on the final cast, using up the last 2 MP he had, Nescard beat the Dragon Lord and, well, he didn't have the return spell, so he had to walk all the way home, which took about 80 seconds. Nescard finished this run with a time of just 58 minutes and 10 seconds. Nescard had done the unthinkable. The previous world record was just under 5 hours. Nescard's full manipulation route brought it down to under 1 hour. There were some mistakes along the way, including against the Dragon Lord, which meant he had to dive Charlock twice. So Nescard was determined to better familiarize himself with the details and improve the record even further. 5 days later, on June 11th, Nescard was at it again. Having had some additional practice, more sections were error-free, and he defeated the Dragon Lord first try, finishing the run in 49 minutes and 24 seconds. 5 days after this run, Karakarn used Nescard's manipulation route to try to beat the game at level 7, and ended up finishing a run in 1 hour, 39 minutes, and 15 seconds. Would Nescard have close competition in the manipulation era? Nescard was determined to get a more optimal finish to secure the record, and 4 days later, on June 20th, he improved again to 47 minutes and 39 seconds. But he didn't save any video of this run because shortly after, he tried again and got this run. With first try Axe Knight and no major mistakes, Nescard lowered the world record to 42 minutes and 21 seconds. This was about as good a time as could be hoped for with this route. Meanwhile, Karakarn kept pushing. Just 5 days later, with a split time of 1 hour, 1 minute, and 3 seconds, he completed a run in 57 minutes and 49 seconds. Over the next month, Karakarn experimented with some new routing ideas, and put together some new manipulations in an effort to break the 40-minute barrier. On July 26th, Karakarn began a run with new splits and brand new routing. After beating the Metal Slimes, instead of going to the Axe Knight, he went straight to Remolder and manipulated a Goldman fight. This would save a lot of time walking from Hawksness to Remolder. He used the gold to buy not 3 keys, but 5 keys, using 2 of them in Remolder to get wings, which would eliminate a full minute of time walking home at the end of the run. He got Erdrick's token, saved, and then did a brand new Axe Knight battle to get the armor. The rest was similar, but with a different amount of gold, Karakarn had to route a new manipulation to get through Charlock. He defeated the Dragon Lord first try and used the wings to fly back home. With a split time of 43 minutes and 41 seconds showing, Karakarn finished this run in 39 minutes and 48 seconds, the first ever sub-40-minute run. How much faster could this route be? Karakarn would attempt to answer that question 5 days later. On July 31st, Karakarn was on another run, and this time he had made some adjustments, including routing a faster Axe Knight fight. After he picked up the Silver Harp, he saved and reset. He then walked to the Staff of Rain without any encounters. He had intended to continue to the Rainbow Drop without encounters, but he made a mistake which broke the manipulation chain. He was still able to pick up the Rainbow Drop, but instead of continuing to the Rainbow Bridge, he death warped and saved again. Realizing that he could continue a manipulation after using the Rainbow Drop, this death warp saved some more walking time. He made no mistakes in Charlock and finished with a time of 35 minutes and 19 seconds. After this run, Karakarn hinted at intending to update his routing to continue his Staff of Rain and Rainbow Drop manipulation, to walk straight into Sharlock and pick up Erdrick's sword. The future of the world record progression was bright. There were now 2 runners dreaming big about creating innovations that could take minutes off the run. Meanwhile, on September 10th, Nescard stepped back up to the plate with a new route incorporating Karakarn's newest routing ideas, but with his own manipulations. He was also able to create an endgame manipulation that encountered an enemy after revealing the Sharlock stairs, and then continued straight to the sword. His first completed run of this route finished in 36 minutes and 1 second. It was 42 seconds shy of the world record, but not only had Nescard encountered a lot of enemies in the grave, he also planned to update the route to include manipulation from the Staff of Rain to the Rainbow Drop. 3 days later, on September 13th, Nescard's updated route was ready. With fewer encounters in the grave, he entered the endgame with a lead. With new manipulations avoiding all encounters from the Staff of Rain to the Rainbow Drop, he saved more than a minute, and once Sharlock was complete, Nescard reclaimed the world record with a time of 34 minutes and 14 seconds. Karakarn responded quickly. 2 days later, on September 15th, he was 30 seconds ahead after defeating the Axe Knight, but he had bad luck in Garen's grave, and again made a mistake after getting the Staff of Rain, which broke his encounter-free manipulation. But he had incorporated an enemy at the Sharlock stairs so he could go straight to the sword, and that was enough for this run to reclaim the world record by 5 seconds, finishing in 34 minutes and 9 seconds. This run showed that the world record could fall much lower without any new routing innovations. Karakarn had lost a minute and 16 seconds from the Axe Knight to the Rainbow Drop, but surprisingly, this is where the world record would sit for over 3 months. Finally, on January 3rd, 2017, Nescard took another shot. By the time he had gotten the token, he was 41 seconds ahead. He made a mistake on the way to the Rainbow Drop, but he only saw 5 enemy encounters as a result. He held it together in Sharlock and finished with a time of 34 minutes flat. Once again, it was clear that a lot more time could be saved, as Nescard showed that his sum of best was 30:44, over 3 minutes faster than this run. But 34 minutes is where the world record would sit for almost another 2 months. Karakarn had shown incredible dedication, drive, and innovation, but he would never reclaim the world record with his idea of manipulating from the Staff of Rain all the way to Erdrick's sword. How much lower could this time go? Were any other routing improvements possible? These questions would eventually be answered by someone new. Ouijie is an NES speedrunner who wanted to learn how to run Dragon Warrior with RNG manipulation. On February 25th, 2017, he informed NES Cardinality of a discovery that would revolutionize the way manipulations are done. In addition to holding the B button to make the game say command, you can also hold the D-pad in a direction in which the cursor cannot move, and each time the arrow toggled between showing and not showing, the RNG would advance 5 frames more than a command manipulation. This meant both manipulations could be combined to test different frames. There were dozens more iterations that could be tested with shorter manipulation chains in battles. This could potentially shorten all battles throughout the run, including a significantly faster Dragon Lord fight. It only took Nescard 3 days to incorporate what he would call arrow manipulations into his route. On February 28, 2017, he opened a run with faster manipulations against the metal slimes. He was already ahead by 36 seconds. He also nailed his manipulation walk to the Rainbow Drop, but the biggest time save of all was waiting at the very end, a Dragon Lord fight with arrow manipulations. There was no longer a need to attack between hurt casts. After casting Sleep, Nescard cast the hurt spell 12 times in a row for his fastest Dragon Lord battle ever, and finished this run with a time of 31 minutes and 44 seconds. Nescard wasn't finished there. With a world of new possibilities and the 30-minute barrier realistically in sight, it was time to incorporate Karakarn's idea of continuing the manipulation from the Rainbow Drop all the way to Erdrick's sword. 5 days after setting the latest world record, he completed a staff-to-sword manipulation, and the next day, on March 6th, he lowered the world record by another 52 seconds, finishing in 30 minutes and 52 seconds. He was more eager than ever to achieve the first ever sub-30-minute Dragon Warrior run. 3 days later, on March 9th, this run happened. "29 minutes and 24 seconds. Less than a year and a half earlier, Nescard thought his 5-hour 15 minutes 7-second run was the fastest the game would ever see, and now he had beaten the game in under half an hour. And yet, despite his closest competition no longer playing Dragon Warrior, the world record was not safe. Ouijui was incorporating new routing ideas which had the potential to save even more time, the most significant of which was picking up Erdrick's sword and then going straight to the Dragon Lord instead of death warping. His first completed run came 13 days after Nescard's sub-30 world record on March 22nd. It had some mistakes, but finished strong in 34:06. Then, on March 23rd, he completed a second run, with fewer mistakes, in 32:11. He was catching up to Nescard, and there was every indication that his route had the potential to shatter the world record. It was time for Nescard to learn to manipulate his way from the sword to the Dragon Lord. A week later, on March 30th, Nescard had incorporated a manipulation from the Staff of Rain all the way to the Dragon Lord, and finished a run in 28 minutes and 48 seconds. This run wasn't uploaded because Nescard was about to try again and get an even faster time. He also mentioned that in his previous record, he made a mistake on the way to the Staff of Rain and had to restart that section, which meant that this new route had the potential for another big improvement. With no issues in the final section, he picked up the sword, ran from a stone man, and went straight to the Dragon Lord, finishing in 27 minutes and 39 seconds. The run had some bad RNG in the grave, and Nescard missed some text box clears, so he came back to it the next day. On March 31st, Nescard improved the world record to 27 minutes and 35 seconds in another run that wasn't uploaded, because he proceeded to improve it again shortly afterwards. This time, he had a much faster grave and didn't miss any text box clears, giving him a huge lead. Once again, it would all come down to Charlock. After picking up the sword, he ran from a wizard, went straight to the Dragon Lord, and nailed the final battle, finishing with a time of 27 minutes and 4 seconds. Nescard's current route had reached its apex. But what about Ouijui? Was his route actually better? That question would be answered on April 16th, 2017. There's a lot to talk about here, as Ouijui had already discovered more new manipulation tech. It turns out that if you move the cursor to a different menu option and then press B for the word command, this advances the text a different number of frames than pressing B first and then doing an arrow manipulation. This means that, using what I'll call spell manipulations and item manipulations, Ouijui could check even more frames for favorable results with very short manipulations being required. He also started off his run buying an herb, then healing in the middle of the metal slime grind so that he could survive a walk to the token immediately after. Then, after the gold man, he defeated a skeleton to account for the gold he spent on the herb. When he made it to the grave, he was manipulating his way in. This is extremely difficult to do because you have to open not one, but 2 doors to get to the Staff of Rain. He did end up making a mistake after the second door, but still ended up with a decent grave. He still had to get the Stones of Sunlight before fighting the Axe Knight, which required opening another door, but Ouijui had routed for this and nailed the entire split first try. When he made it to Charlock, he picked up the sword and ran straight for the Dragon Lord, not encountering his frame-finding enemy until the bottom floor. Finally, with the new manipulation tech he had found, his Dragon Lord fight was significantly faster. Ouijui ended up finishing this incredible run in 25 minutes and 35 seconds, lowering the world record by nearly a minute and a half. This is where the world record would sit for almost 5 months. Nescard was eager to try to take the world record back. On September 11th, 2017, he was on another run, with his splits showing a time of 25:39, just 4 seconds shy of WiiWii's world record. He didn't add any of WiiWii's routing innovations, but rather made key adjustments to his own route. The most significant change came after defeating the Axe Knight. Instead of death warping or walking to the Silver Heart, Nescard routed a new manipulation that would allow him to take the armor and then go straight to Erdrick's token. Combining these two components into one split had the potential to save more than a minute and a half over his previous route. He also manipulated the enemy encounters that tie the final split together to be shorter. With a better grave than before, this run finished in 25 minutes and 21 seconds. Incredibly, Nescard still hadn't incorporated spell or item manipulations. This run used only command and arrow manipulations and still improved the world record. Earlier in the year, Nescard had gone to Awesome Games Done Quick, with Dragon Warrior being accepted as a backup run. It didn't appear in that year's marathon, but he submitted it again for 2018's event and it was accepted. In the months leading up to January 2018, Nescard spent each day practicing his current route with some marathon safety added. He routed an extra encounter between each metal slime to ensure that 4 metal slimes could be encountered in one attempt, and he also added a safety save before getting the Silver Heart. I'm mentioning this here because Nescard wouldn't be working on a faster route during this practice period, and WiiWii declared that he wouldn't try to improve the world record until after the event. But it's also worth including here, as it was a significant and interesting moment in Dragon Warrior speedrunning history, with a route this complex combined with the pressure of having to complete it in one attempt while doing commentary, with around 130,000 people watching. On January 10th, 2018, with the 2 current titans of Dragon Warrior speedrunning in the same room, Nescard completed a run with his marathon route in 27 minutes and 19 seconds.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for that absolutely incredible run. Anyone can just speedrun a game. You have someone here who has taken complete control of this game, moving through the dark, manipulating RNG. Absolutely incredible Nescardnality. Let's give it up.
With a few days left in the marathon, Nescard opened up his laptop and started altering his Dragonlord fight to include the new manipulation tech WiiWii had found. 5 days after the AGDQ run, on January 15th, he started streaming runs with the new final battle, and lowered the world record to 25 minutes and 10 seconds. This run was never saved because he kept playing and lowered it again, with a time of 25 minutes and 1 second, a sliver away from the 25-minute barrier. But this run also wasn't saved because he kept at it, eager to try for sub 25. He nailed the text box clear he had missed before the Axe Knight, got a slightly faster grave, and with multiple item manipulations added, defeated the Dragonlord and finished in 24 minutes and 50 seconds. Less than a year after the half-hour barrier had been broken, Dragon Warrior was completed in under 25 minutes. 2 weeks later, on January 27th, Nescard was doing another run with the same route. He started off with a lead, getting a Death Warp on the first step out of Remolder, but his Death Warp out of the grave left him behind by 2 seconds. He knew that it was still possible to lower the record if he encountered a wizard at the Charlock Stairs, and another wizard at the Sword, both of which were the faster of 2 possibilities. He encountered both wizards, a 25% chance, and finished the run with a time of 24 minutes and 47 seconds. Another route had been pushed just about as far as it could go. This is where the world record would stand for over 2 months. On April 16th, exactly 1 year after his record-shattering 25:35 run, WiiWii was at it again with a new route. When he death warped after the metal slimes, he didn't stop to talk to the king. WiiWii had realized that if he could clear the text box on a specific frame and route a manipulation for that frame, he didn't have to save to continue to remolder. He still prepared a manipulation for Garen's grave, although he again broke the chain after opening the second door. He then incorporated Nescard's idea of combining the armor and token into one split, which eliminated the need to buy an herb in the opening and fight an additional skeleton at Remolder. He nailed the final section and finished the run in 24 minutes and 41 seconds. WeeGee mentioned that he was relieved to finish a run with this route, and Nescard was busy with many other speedrunning projects. As a result, World Record Improvement would take its longest break to date, as WeeGee's record would stand for over 2.5 years. Our story resumes on October 22nd, 2020. Nescard has put together a new route and is speedrunning Dragon Warrior again. After the Metal Slime Death Ward, he eliminated the save he previously used and went straight to Remolder as WeeGee had. At the end of this split, he was ahead by 14 seconds. The next 3 splits lost small amounts of time, and Nescard encountered a Star Wyvern instead of a Wizard at the Charlock Stairs, the slower possibility. At this point, he knew that the only remaining chance this run had at the world record was to encounter a Wizard at the Sword. With hope still alive, execution had to be airtight. After defeating the Dragon Lord, he stayed super focused for the menuing that remained.
Well, it's a new personal best for sure. I don't know about the rest. Looks good. Let's go talk to the king. Oh man, it's brutally close, guys. I have no idea. Yes! Yes, that's it! Okay. I don't know, guys. I don't know. We might have to frame count. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Oh, God.
When the dust settled, Nescard's run ended up being approximately a quarter of a second faster than WeeGee's, the smallest world record improvement the game had ever seen. Nescard's time was 24 minutes and 40 seconds. 3 weeks later, Nescard was at it again. On November 12th, he was looking for a faster Garen's Grave. He got a quick death warp from a Druid Lord, and he had a significant lead. The Charlock execution was perfect, and he finished the run in 24 minutes and 23 seconds. Once again, Nescard's route had achieved just about the best time it could, so he once again moved on to other speedrunning projects. This is where the world record would stand for over a year. On December 19th, 2021, WeeGee, who was no longer streaming, posted a video to his YouTube channel. It was a Dragon Warrior speedrun. WeeGee had routed faster metal slimes in a different zone. He once again made a mistake in the grave manipulation, but the run still had the potential for improvement. The run finished in 24:40, shaving more than a second off of his personal best. But this run was just a preview of what was coming next. In addition to the metal slimes, WeeGee was in the process of rerouting the entire endgame. On January 1st, 2022, WeeGee posted another run to YouTube. There were some major changes in addition to the new metal slimes. When WeeGee got to Garinham, he picked up a torch in a treasure chest, which would come into play later. When he entered the grave, he discovered that he had again broken his manipulation chain. It's worth mentioning that, despite always having one prepared, WeeGee had never pulled off a fully manipulated grave in a world record run, and still managed to achieve some of the strongest world records this game has ever seen. After he got the token, he death warped and immediately walked out of the throne room. He had eliminated the save previously required to set up the final section, and instead chained it together with the armor and token, a monumental routing milestone. And amazingly, that wasn't even the most significant change to this route. When the first manipulation routes were made, it was not yet known that it was possible to use a torch in a cave and continue the manipulation. But WeeGee had known for years that it was possible from his grave manipulations. This is why he had picked up a torch in Garinham. He brought it to Charlock and used it on the second floor, which removed the need to bonk into walls to secure a manipulation. This would eliminate more than a minute of time in Charlock. He nailed the rest of the run and finished with a time of 23 minutes and 28 seconds. This was another phenomenal improvement. With so many optimizations and so little time left, it It seemed beyond unlikely that such a large improvement could occur, but Ouijie had found a way. People asked Nescard if he would come back to try to improve the record again. He replied that with such a significant record being achieved, he wanted it to stand for a while, but that ultimately, he will always come back to Dragon Warrior. Ouijie's run remained the record for more than a year and a half. In the summer of 2023, Nescard decided it was time to come back. He began the process of creating a new route, one in which, for the first time ever, nothing would be the same as anything in his previous routes. While all of his routing had always been his own, in this route he made the decision to start out by fighting the same metal slimes Ouijie had fought, acknowledging that they might be the fastest ones the community will find. He also routed the Silver Harp before the Axe Knight fight for the first time, acknowledging that if the grave is going to be unmanipulated, he needed to increase the chance of a faster Death Warp, something that used to be hindered by having the armor. For the rest of the routing, he delved deep into the possibilities each frame had to offer, trying to optimize everything he could, hoping it would all be fast enough once the route was put together and run in real time. As Ouijie had in his run, Nescard incorporated the elimination of a save after the token, as well as the torch in Charlock, and he also routed something that had never been done before, going through the grave in the dark. With all his experience playing Dragon Warrior Randomizer, he already knew his way through the grave in the dark. This way, he didn't have to pick up an extra torch. A small difference to be sure, but Nescard was trying to save every second he could. Of course, with a still unmanipulated grave, he would be at the mercy of random enemy encounters. Would his route be enough for a faster speedrun than Ouijie's world record? It was time to find out. On August 29th, Nescard began speedrunning Dragon Warrior again. In less than an hour, he beat 4 consecutive metal slimes. The run was on. Both of his first 2 splits were large golds, but unfortunately he had a bad grave and ended up losing 25 seconds. Was there still enough time to chase the record? The elimination of a save after the token allowed him to regain a lead over his personal best at the Rainbow Bridge. With more than a minute to save in Charlock with the torchlight on, and the fastest Dragonlord fight he had ever routed, Nescard finished with a time of 23 minutes and 4 seconds. Nescard was amazed. Despite the bad grave, he had already lowered the record by 24 seconds. The work he had put into crafting a more optimal run had really paid off. How much faster could it go? With the bad grave split unresolved, and the 23-minute barrier being so close, it was only natural that Nescard would keep grinding with this route. How fast could it be? 5 days later, that question would be answered. September 3rd, 2023. Another run begins. Nescard got the slower of 2 Death Warp possibilities after the metal slimes, putting him slightly behind. But then he found a fast wolf encounter after Remolder. Now it was time for the grave.
Okay, we got it. Oh, right on. That was really fast. You guys want to know how much time we can save? Take a look.
Less than 10 minutes into the run, Nescard saved for the last time. Coming off of the fastest grave he could have hoped for, he now had to do about 13 straight minutes of manipulations, more complex than they had ever been in previous routes, chasing a new world record.
Yes! We got it already! This is what I was waiting for! The Grave of Dreams! Let's go! I did not know it could be that much faster. This is definitely the run I was looking for. Definitely.
22 minutes and 29 seconds. The Grave had been so good that Nescar didn't just break the 23-minute barrier. He got sub 22 and a half. Even years after runners started doing full manipulation runs, a run this fast could only be dreamed of. But the innovations that were discovered over time allowed dreams to become reality. This has been the history of Dragon Warrior World Records. Thanks for watching.